Okay, so welcome to our Mindful Connection Happy Hour, our third one. And I appreciate your coming and being here after what I would consider a really rough week. I think that what I noticed in all the dozens of conversations that I had with others this week, everybody seemed to be looking for footing. They seemed to be looking for some sort of grounding, but also finding an equilibrium, like taking a breath and realizing, okay, we're in week 3 or 4, depending on when you started. And how is that playing out in our lives, but also in our bodies? And so I wanted to focus tonight on that idea, which can be challenging to think about of how it's landing on us and within us. So as always, before we get started on the meditation, I would love to turn our focus towards the origins of mindful meditation practice to honor where it came from. It's important to do that every week. As most of you know, it's an ancient religious, really spiritual practice from Eastern culture, Hinduism, Buddhism, and many other cultures. And I like to also begin by honoring and finding gratitude for those who have come before us and those that we need to honor in this moment. So I like to honor the land we are on and those who lived on the land before it was stolen. I like to honor all of the enslaved peoples who were transported against their will and whose blood, sweat, and tears birthed the society in which we live. To honor all of those who have chosen to live, work, and sacrifice in service to provide a sense of freedom and welfare for all. And finally, this week, as we have continued to do, is I'd like to honor the brave healthcare workers, grocery workers, delivery workers, and all other service workers who are on the front lines, putting the good and welfare of humanity above their own. And with that, please join me in a moment of gratitude for all the people I just mentioned and anyone else that you have on your heart who you'd like to honor this week at this time. And together we take a deep breath in and exhale, and we say thank you and gratitude. I'm going to do a guided meditation of grounding, connection, and compassion for ourselves and for others. As we've been doing, I'm going to start you off. We'll do some, I'll guide the meditation, then we'll have a brief time where you'll be on your own in terms of meditating in silence and just seeing where it leads you. And then we'll come back again towards the end. I'll ring a bell and we'll come back. So before we get into that, I just want to say there's a lot of research in the neuroscience field that says that when we are in crisis, we really need to feel safe and secure, and we also need to have some certainty. And I always find that interesting because I feel like it's really not certainty, it's an illusion of certainty that we have, that we can control things. And I find, and what I've been finding, just talking to so many people this week, that people are really grasping for that feeling of certainty and that feeling of safety, which is perfectly natural and normal for our brains to yearn and desire that right now. And the idea is that the fear of not having that certainty actually builds up in our bodies throughout the week. And so what I'd like to do with this meditation is to provide ourselves with a chance to release it, to release that fear. I'm going to invite you to, hopefully you're in a quiet place and that you're in a seated position, or if you're lying down, that's fine too. If you're watching this now or you're watching this later or practicing with us later. And And I'd like you to, if it's comfortable for you to close your eyes, go ahead and feel free to do so. And just settle into this moment. Notice your breath. Notice how your breath is coming in through your body. If your feet are on the floor, notice the space between your feet and the floor beneath you, the earth beneath you. And as you inhale, just notice where there's tension in your body. And as you exhale, see what you can lighten up in your body, what you can loosen, what you can soften. I'm also going to invite you to find an anchor. And when I say anchor, that could be anything. It could be anything that brings you joy in your life. An anchor could also be your breath. As I often say, we will have our breath until we take our last one. And it's always an anchor. But you can also anchor on something positive or something that brings you a feeling of safety or peace in your life. Just focusing on that for a moment. And just notice what happens in your body as you focus on your anchor. Notice any kind of lightening that might happen. And notice where you feel that in your body. And then I'm going to invite you to go a little bit deeper. And with your eyes closed, if they are closed, go ahead and put your hands on your thighs, face down. And I'm going to invite you to press down on your left hand onto your thigh. And just notice how it feels on your body to press down on the left side and not on the right. And then release your left hand and press down on your right hand into your right thigh. And notice how that feels. And then come back to center and just notice that when you're pressing down on one side or the other, there's a little bit of an imbalance going on. And the rest of your body is overcompensating for that. So if you're going back and forth with your hands pressing into your thighs one at a time, you'll just notice a constriction in your belly. Perhaps your abdomen is tightening up to make up for that imbalance. And so if you come back to center again and just feel the difference between when your hands are just gently on your thighs, not pressing down, there's a feeling of equilibrium that we don't have when we're pressing one side or the other. This is what I would call the embodiment of fear, where we might feel that in our body if there's an imbalance, which is what's happening on the planet right now. And so I'm going to invite you, that's just sort of an example of how fear or an emotion can actually, you can feel it in your body. And so allowing that fear to come up of what's going on the planet, which we're all struggling through, I invite you to take a deep breath in and just notice where you might be feeling that sense of fear, anxiety, tension in your body that we've been holding on to for the last few weeks. And as you exhale, try to breathe some love, some light, some care into those spaces in your body. And if that feeling of fear ever becomes overwhelming, you can always go back to your anchor and remember what it feels like to feel that joy and that sense of happiness in your body. I'm going to invite you to go back and forth from the sense of allowing the fear, whatever the emotions have been, the anxiety that has been stored in your body all week, just to notice it. And if you can allow it to come up and breathe into the space that it's coming into, coming back to your anchor and exhaling, letting go of what no longer serves you, letting go of this imbalance, letting go of the challenges and the darkness. And at your own pace, continue to do that for the next couple of minutes, and I'll bring you back in just a couple minutes. With a deep breath, taking a deep inhale and exhale. I invite you to think about what's underneath the fear, the fact that our lightness is under all of that. It's there, it's just covered right now for many of us. And just knowing that if we need certainty, maybe considering asking yourself the question, what do I have control over right now? What makes me feel secure? What makes me feel safe? Ask yourself that question and allow a moment or two for an answer to arise. What can you do in your life right now that will provide that for you? And I encourage you to find time every day to do at least one thing to ground yourself, make yourself feel safe. And also notice in your body when you do feel safe. What does it feel like? Identify that, acknowledge it. That makes it so that during those times when you're not feeling so safe, it doesn't feel like this is endless. You can say to yourself, oh, but I remember I did feel safe, or I felt secure earlier today because I was noticing. It's a great mindfulness practice. And you just realize that if you're not feeling safe in that moment, that's just this moment, and I will feel safe again. That it's not going to last this whole time. It's just for the moment you might feel unsafe or insecure or uncertain. And as always, I love the idea of the oxygen mask, putting your own on first, making sure that your daily practices include getting fresh air and exercise and eating well and treating yourself like the beautiful person that you are. I invite you to share how that was for you, and feel free to share, or you can put in the chat box, or you can just unmute yourself and share how that was. Everybody's shy, no problem. Well, I thank you very, very much for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. And feel free to invite your friends. It's open to everybody. You can, when you get the email, you can forward it on if you like to whomever, but hopefully people that you trust, and to be here. And if it's somebody who you think might be interested, feel free to share. I know that there's a lot of people out there who are watching after the fact. So when the email goes out on Monday, I've been getting a lot of responses of people who are using the meditation from Friday the following week and sharing that with friends as well. So feel free to do that as well. Yeah. Thank you all so much. Thank you for coming.